I'd grown up being sexually abused by a family member, and this lasted from second grade until my sophomore year in high school. From very early on, in my mind, men were dangerous. After college, as a 20-something, I found myself at Discovery, and I began to know what it means to walk with the Lord. I started attending services, I joined Bible studies, went through restoration counseling, and eventually became a part of the worship team. As I got older, there was this void, an emptiness and a longing for a deep and meaningful relationship, the desire to be married and start a family, but I could not feel comfortable around men. I felt safest around females, and that was the beginning of my struggle with same-sex attraction. Before I knew it, I had found myself in a relationship with a woman, and I knew when I started the relationship that it was against God's teaching and His will for my life. I didn't want to talk about God, I didn't want to hear about God, I didn't want to trust God with my life. I wanted all of the control. The voice of the enemy became louder and stronger over my life, and I found myself isolated and walking through my struggle alone, and so I left the church altogether. I slowly became aware of everything that I had given up. My life was no longer fruitful. I wasn't experiencing any joy, but I wasn't ready to change. I wasn't ready to leave where I was at. But I did start praying. I was just asking God that He would make me strong enough to leave. I was faced with an ugly truth that I had been too prideful to accept up to that point. I had convinced myself that even if I ended the relationship and went back to church, that I would never be allowed on the worship team. And because of that, I didn't want to go back. I had no clue at the time that God orchestrated this encounter, but I ended up getting connected with Chloe. God accomplished so much by bringing Chloe into my life. He knew where I felt safest. He knew where I was most comfortable. She didn't agree with what I was doing, but she wasn't there to condemn me. She just wanted to show me love. God knew exactly what I needed. I never once felt judged, only loved. And it dawned on me that the people, the community that I had completely abandoned, were treating me way better than the other people that I had chosen to surround myself with. I was so broken, and I wanted to be near God so badly that I didn't care if I ever got back on stage again. I wanted the giver more than I cared for the gift. With the strength that God provided me, I ended the relationship and started coming back to church. I found out quickly what the love of God truly looks like. I still remember when John invited me back to the team. I had never experienced God's grace like I did in that moment. The struggle is real. My struggle is real, but even though I struggle, it doesn't mean that I have to give in to sin. And my struggle may not look like yours, but whatever it is, God wants you to run to Him and not from Him. Apart from learning to trust in the Lord, the next most important thing I took away from my journey is that community is so important. I've chosen to surround myself with people who are grounded in their faith and their walk with the Lord, who love me and encourage me and who will keep me accountable. It's the most humbling thing to think about how I ran from God as far as I could and wanted nothing to do with Him. But when I was ready to come home, the moment I confessed and repented of my ways, He took me back with open arms. Everyone has their struggles, but there is hope and healing to be found in the love of God and the people of His community.